Hmm. Uh, Good morning to everyone. Once again, we welcome you. Today, I take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed speaker of the day. Respected sir, thank you for accepting our invitation for today deliver a lecture on case study, case method of learning. Dr. R.K. Singh is the professor of HR, head and dean faculty of commerce and business University of Delhi. Sir is a trainer, researcher, academician with executive coach and soft skill trainer for Fortune 500 company and has established business incubation center at University of Delhi and affiliated college to provide entrepreneurial opportunity to a student, teacher, as well as to industry. Sir has published several books and various research paper articles in reputed journal and has delivered numerous lecture and talk. Sir has guided many MPhil and PhD students. Sir was awarded Best Business Academician of the Year 2007 with silver medal. Sir, once again, warm welcome to you in behalf of the organizing committee. Over to you, this virtual platform, sir.
Thank you so much, Rajiv, for inviting me, and I'm thankful to Ramanujan fraternity, especially to Dr. Alok, who asked me to be with the participants today to share my very vague, unstructured ideas on the subject that what is the role of case method of learning. It is good that few thousand budding academic are there on this platform and are connected with this through this platform since last roughly 1 month. See, in academics, there is no as such formal training given to understand that what is teaching methodology, what makes a person a good teacher, what a teacher should do when is there in the class, how to prepare the interaction. So as no formal training is given in higher education institutions, therefore, whosoever joins the higher education institution as a teacher, as an academic, develops his or her own style of teaching. Some of us keep on moving, shifting from one style to other, understanding what is good, what is better, how it could be further bettered, how it could be perfected. And as per the requirement of present academic schema, the larger interaction of the teacher with the student is through lecturing, where teacher is taken as supreme source of knowledge. And this reservoir of knowledge goes for creating a meaningful engagement in class. adopting a very pedantic style where knowledge flows from top to bottom, from up to down. And those who are able to make this flow smooth, keeping the interest of the students, in due course of time, they are taken as good teachers. So, along with lecturing, where the responsibility of making students to learn largely lies with the teacher, there is a parallel paradigm which is called as participant-centered learning, which is also called as Socratic method of learning, which is also known as problem-centered learning, which is also called as discussion-based learning, and is also known as case method of learning. So, for teachers, I'm keeping my today's interaction with you largely case method of learning focused to teaching. This is also used in research. So this case method of learning, which is a counter option to lecture method of learning. In this case method of learning, actually learning is not something, a product which is given by teacher to the student through showering the scholarship. Rather, this method is to give opportunity to students to discover and to produce knowledge. You see, three things are important in academics. What is with you? Your substance. What is given? The context, the environment. And third, what is discovered? What new interpretation, new meaning? Discovery does not mean that you go for making some invention. I'm not talking about invention. Invention is searching something entirely new. Discovery is whatever is given, giving a new meaning to it, finding out a new interpretation. If Newton saw an apple falling from the tree on the ground, it was not invention. It was not something new phenomenon which Newton was observing, that for the first time an apple was falling from the tree. No. Prior to that and after that also, the fruits, they fall from tree to the ground. But Newton discovered that there is a reason for this fall. There is a force which is attracting. So in teaching also, there is a need for that discovery. And any discovery which is made by the self, when you are giving opportunity to the student to discover that knowledge, that becomes yours. I can give this, make this more simpler by giving an example that whatever discovery you make on your own, whether it is cooking A ration is given to you to prepare a dish in a particular manner. But when you prepare the dish and you make some alterations, maybe steaming for a longer period, or maybe some change in the spice and the dish, the taste of the dish which you prepare, you like that most and that becomes yours. So is driving. When you learn driving there in the driving school, your trainer teaches you that how to use ABC, accelerator, brake and clutch, how to move your car, how to negotiate difficult turns there on the road. But when you go with your car on the road on your own and you discover that theory which was taught by your trainer to you, how it is applied, the application of that theory on the road of driving, that application becomes yours. So what is taught to you by your trainer, that resides at your back of the mind, but your greater learning takes place when you go on the road, when the rubber touches the road, that learning is more stable. Therefore, this case method of learning, it gives opportunity to a student to discover the knowledge. There, the knowledge is not something which is as a product, as a full baked meal served there in the platter to the student. No, the students are taught that, see, these are the ingredients, and using these ingredients, you can go for preparing the dish. And whatever dish you prepare, there must be an academic justification for that. And as long as you are able to justify it academically, you are able to claim that, yes, this knowledge has been created by you, this knowledge has been discovered by you. As we are talking about learning, it becomes very imperative to understand that what learning is. Learning, we say that it is process of acquisition, assimilation, and internalization of cognitive, motor, and behavioral inputs for bringing effectiveness. There is another very popular definition of learning, which says that learning is making relatively permanent change in knowledge, attitude, and behavior through formal education and training. So with this process of bringing relatively permanent change in knowledge, attitude, and behavior, it means learning not only to know something new. Learning is not only to know that there is a new theory, there is a new research, and you appreciate that research. Learning is that the research, what new has come, how it is expanding your horizon, how it is expanding your knowledge base. And towards the end, how that expanded knowledge base goes for bringing change in your behavior. If it remains confined to that knowledge and not getting translated into changing your behavior with the newly acquired knowledge, then this is not learning. This is acquisition of a small component of learning, acquisition of knowledge, and acquisition of knowledge solely cannot be called as learning. In pedantic style of teaching, in lecture-based teaching, there is acquisition of knowledge, but that knowledge is not getting translated into behavior. That is why often there is academia industry dialogue. Industry says that what is taught there in the classes, that is not useful for us. And academics claim is that we are not the service providers. We are thought leaders. We are there to broaden the horizon. And how practically it would be applied, that is to be taken care of by the industry. So this participant-centered learning, or this case method of learning, this goes for bridging the gap between the two. And to support my first argument that industry says that what the final output academics gives to us that is not useful for us, I refer the research of NASDAQ, which has gone for collecting data from the best of the best institutions of this country, including IIMs and IITs, and says that less than 10% graduates of IIMs and IITs in this country has best of the best institutions. Less than 10% of the graduates, they are having the employable skills. So where things are going wrong? Best and the best minds are going in IITs and IIMs. Then why NASDAQ's report speaks about this? This is also corroborated by the research of the Klaus Schwab, the founder of World Economic Forum. Therefore, to bridge this gap, there is a need to create alternate model of interaction with the student, alternate model of learning. And this case method of learning is largely based on the contributions of a great psychologist, David Cole, who talks about experiential learning, who says that learning is a process where knowledge is created through transformation of experience. So anything and everything which is processed by you, experienced by you, applied by you, the learning of that becomes more permanent. That learning of that becomes more stable with you. And anything which is given to you as a food for thought, someone has rightly said that thinking never comes out of thought. Thinking comes out of practice. So what we say that this is food for thought with the very pious objective that the food for thought given to the students, that will go for making them a better thinker. That will go for bringing some element of thinking in them. That is actually not happening in the present context. Therefore, we have to create a process where students, they become a thinking person. It does not mean that for teaching, theories are not important. Certainly not. Theory is of great importance. But how there is a need to understand that how theorization takes place. Is theory, whether it is science theory or the social science theory, is it even for sciences also? Are these theories only getting out of a lab, a rented environment? Answer no. And that is more true in social sciences, more true in humanities, more true in arts. Any and every theory that is, theorization is identification of a pattern in practice. When you are identifying a pattern in practice and you put that pattern in a structure, it becomes theory. So theory is practiced most, or theory is derived, deduced out of practice. Therefore, saying that this is more theoretical and this is more practical, this itself is a contradictory statement. Because theory is based on practice. Theory is not come out of the silo. Theory is the revelation of God. Theory is in social sciences, what we do in social sciences, we see how it is behaving. So in sciences, we see that how a particular element is behaving, and on the basis of that, it is theorized. So if theory is based on practice, therefore this case method of learning focuses on practice. and gives opportunity to a student to identify that where that theory lies, and whatever the knowledge created in the past is available to us in the form of theory, that acts as a guide, that acts as a lamppost, that acts as a navigator, that shows the direction that how you have to move. But at the same time, this case method of learning gives opportunity for self-discovery to the student, gives opportunity that a student goes for seeing herself, that how actually practice unfolds itself. Because when the rubber touches the road, verbatim things does not happen how it have been happening in the past, because the past is entirely different and present is entirely different. Therefore, the past act as a guide. Past can go for doing a direction, but how it would be handled in present, that has to be decided by the individual who is there in the present. This what is the rationale of talking about the case method of learning. Now question comes, what case is? It must be clear to the larger majority. As we are talking about case, we are actually talking about a specific organization. We are talking about a specific location. We are talking about a specific geography. We are talking about a specific community. You are talking about a specific individual. We are talking about a specific group. So anything which is having a specific characteristic, whether belonging to an organization, belonging to a community, belonging to individual, belonging to the group, belonging to psychographic, belonging to the demographic, belonging to the geographic, understanding the characteristics of that and knowing something in and around that specific subject, that what is the case. You may also call it as a historical narration about particular organization, particular community. It's also a narrative which is created to make students understand the data, spread of data. Usually when we are using the term data, then number comes in our mind. And with the data, we start thinking that how the number crunching will take place. And some of us, like me, they are very afraid of numbers, afraid of mathematics. But data is not only in terms of numbers. Any and everything which is coming out of interaction is a data. Words, phraseologies, metaphors, similes, whatever possess facial expression, body movement, it's all part of the data. And often you, in your usual interaction, often you use the data, you process the data. Simple example is that when you are asking your friend for, let's say, a book which your friend is possessing, over phone you are speaking to your friend that can you go for lending your book to me, and he says okay. He's saying okay, this has a different meaning as compared to he says okay. It has another word, okay, why not? It has a different meaning. All these are conversations taking place over phone, but what is the impact of the first okay, second okay, and third okay, why not? All three would be interpreted differently. Therefore, any and every interaction And you see, the human interaction, the human life, it is always hovering around the data. All our narrations, all our expressions are in and around this human data created. Therefore, the case method is to understand that what is the spread of the data. Spread of data, another example, that saying mother, mother, and saying mother, father's wife. Mother is, of course, father's wife. But the day you call mother as father's wife, a different kind of the data you have created, a different kind of the experience, you have gone for defining relations entirely differently. Though, in actuality, mother is, of course, wife of the father. But the kind of the relationship which we are establishing with the mother by calling mother, mother, ma, is different from calling mother as father's wife. Therefore, case method gives you opportunity to see that what is the data. If there is interaction, if there is a narration about an organization or a community, what kind of the data is used, how this story is being created. And as we are talking about the story being created, then there are two things which you may like to know. Some of you must be knowing it. Just I'm giving a passing reference. One that is epistemology. Epistemology is talking about what is knowledge, how to gain knowledge. Epistemology is to talk about what is the relationship between knower and the known. So this knowing that knowledge, how it is created, it says that knowledge is created largely through two sources. There are two philosophical orientations of knowledge creation. One is positivism, and another is interpretivism. Positivism is that knowledge is given and you have to find it. Knowledge is given, you have to find it. That is, as a sculptor for finding out a statue out of a rock. So people say that a statue is very much there in the rock. A sculptor has gone for finding it out. Another way to look at this positivism is that gaining data through creating some knowledge out of collection of the data through some questionnaire. You forward your questionnaire, you collect the data, you process it, and you interpret and you say that this what is the result of your data collection. Positivistic perspective is that whosoever was the respondent of your questionnaire is immaterial. The day a respondent has gone for filling the questionnaire, the identity of the respondent is not important for you, because every respondent is numbered, is coded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Therefore, there is no difference between person and that number. And it is made that knower and known, both are different. Whereas along positivism, there is another philosophical epistemological perspective, that is interpretivism. That interpretivism is that no, Knowledge is not something given. Knowledge is always interpreted. It is interpretation of something helps you creating knowledge. How you interpret things. So therefore, it is a respondent is as important as a response is. And the identity of both is intermixed, intermingled, goes hand in hand. If I narrate a truth and you narrate the same truth, same reality, both has a different meaning. During this early phase of the SARS-CoV-2, we were talking about reverse migration of labor, and not many news coming there in the electronic media and in the print media. And every time we were being caught up, engrossed, consumed in the what the reality media was showing. Towards the end, it started coming that no, things are all right. On 6th of May 2020, I drove for roughly 1,000 kilometers on a highway in one day. It took 12 and a half hours. And all through, I found labor along with the family, roughly for as long as I was there on the highway for 900 kilometers. All through 900 kilometers, I found continuous movement of the labor migrating to their native places, carrying bags at the back, at the head, carrying baby on the lap on the bicycles, moving bikes without fuel. My experience of labor, reverse migration of labor is different from the experience of the reverse migration of labor of the people, those who know the reality only through electronic or print media. Because I have my own way of visualizing it, seeing it, experiencing it, and interpreting it. Therefore, another knowledge domain, epistemological domain of the knowledge, that is it all matters in the interpretation. So this case method of learning is not positivistic way of looking at knowledge. This is interpretive way of looking at knowledge. So data, the information, the data about the case is given to all, but how you interpret that matters. Similarly, along with epistemology, there is another philosophical orientation which is called as ontology. Ontology, where we go for talking about that what is the nature of the reality, how things really are, how things really work, and we see whether the social world is regarded as something external to the social actors or as something that people are in the process of fashioning. So this ontological perspective in knowledge creation, it talks about objectivism and constructionism, as epistemology talks about positivism and interpretivism. So objectivism is the way objective, and anything which objective is measurable. So one way to look at knowledge is that the knowledge is objective. Knowledge has a given parameters. Knowledge could be measured, and the other is that no. Along with contrary perspective, along with the objectivism, is constructionism. That knowledge is always constructed. Reality is not given. Reality is not objective. Reality is constant. So this case method of learning is more constructionist, more interpretive, where by and large, majority of the times, on an average, maximally, these are the phrases which we use. not meaning a claim that this is definitive declarative truth. Because there is nothing definitive declarative truth, that too in social sciences. It is always seen with some contextualization. And it is even true in the sciences. I don't know much about that, but the theory of relativity, what Einstein gave, the theory of relativity is being challenged by the present scientists. Electron, which has gone for revolutionizing, it is a wave or it is a particle, it is not known. And that what the de Broglie's hypothesization is. The basic principle of mathematics that any negative number, when it would be multiplied with another negative number, the resultant would be positive. But iota under root -1 multiplied by under root -1 goes for flouting the basic mathematical rule that a negative number, when is multiplied with another negative number, the resultant of this multiplication of under root -1 with under root -1, the resultant is -1. And we are not able to find out any logic, and what even in the pure sciences like mathematics, for what we are not able to find out any logic, we say that this is axiom. So this construction that is given, this interpretation is given, opportunity for that is given to the student there in the case method of learning, where the facts are given, facts are presented, and the student is allowed to interact. A student is allowed to look at the data and try to search that where knowledge lies. As a student goes for searching knowledge on her own, therefore, what a student searches, that knowledge becomes more personal. That a student takes as a discovery, because it is not given by someone else. That dish, that meal is being prepared out of the spices available to that student. And that helps a student to be a thinking person. Because in our education system, there is a period for physical training. There is period for improving the muscle power. But there is no exclusive, there is exclusive period for physical training, PT. But there is no exclusive period for building the thinking power. We teach and we assume that in due course of the time, a student will learn how to think. No, they are to be given a training, and that training is not that they should be given a big idea and it is assumed that they will become a great thinker. They should be engaged in the process of thinking by giving them opportunity that how to go for creating knowledge, how to capture the data, how to understand the data, how to understand the finer aspects of the data. So in lecturing, teacher goes for presenting the final principles and conclusions. And in case method of learning, nothing comes as final. Nothing comes as though. It is always oh. In lecturing, the explanation and meaning of the concepts are given. Whereas in the case method of learning, the reader needs to construct the meaning out of the case. Lecture method of learning is very sequential, very logical. But the case method of learning is very unorganized. But in that unorganized learning is in a very organized form. Because in life also you can see that everything is not patterned, everything is not organized. And many ifs and buts, they keep on cropping in life. Every time it is not being governed by any dot theory. There are some dovetailing which takes place. So giving that opportunity to the learner to dovetail and understand that how this reality could be contextualized. So theory says that there is final answer, but case method says that there is no final answer. There is still improvement for betterment. As you grow, as you learn, there is scope for further improvement. That what is happening there in the technology. Technology is having very small shelf life. Why? Because we are using technology, we are experiencing the problems, we are sharing our problems with the technology developers, and in the next round you find a new version of the technology comes, which goes for addressing your concerns raised in previous time frame. This what is the case method of learning, that you are doing it for the time being. This is a solution, but as the context will change, the new and better solution would be created. So the lecture method, which is the cold storage idea of knowledge, that it is taken out and it is served, whereas in case method it is said that there is no need to display and heap up knowledge. Rather, that the students are given opportunity, are given training to think. Whosoever is able to think better and out of the given data is able to find out better alternatives. And a student is given opportunity to generate multiple alternatives with their academic justifications on the basis of what the data is given. And in that process, students are made to learn. Students are made to understand that that how data is to be captured, how that data is to be processed, how it is to be churned, and what probable scenarios could be simulated, could be visualized. Those who are able to simulate it better, those who are able to look at different alternatives, they emerge as a better leader. So in case method of learning, teacher is not a reservoir of knowledge. Teacher is a teacher is a person who initiates the discussion, and students, those who are very playful outside the class, full of enthusiasm outside the class, but losing their interest as soon as they enter in the class, because they find that now there would be bombardment of big knowledge. They are given opportunity to make class a playful place. Because in case method of learning, teacher is not teaching the subject. Teacher is teaching the individual. And as teacher is teaching individual, therefore this individuality of learning becomes relatively permanent and personal to the learner. And in this case method of learning, knowledge is simply a working capital. It is indispensable resource for further inquiry. Teaching is to make a student to get engaged in capturing the data, resurrecting, creating a bigger picture, understanding the grand narrative, and finding out that where things are placed, what are the issues, what are the challenges, how solutions, alternatives could be created. So, in case method of learning, teacher departs from what is assured to what is lacking. Knowledge which is acquired by or created by the teacher in the process of learning, in lecturing, it comes as a very solidified and fixated and very eclectic kind. Whereas in the case method, we are not giving any last answer. Therefore, it is more into identifying that where those gaps are, which could be plugged in. How a student could be trained to make a departure from known to unknown. Taking journey is smooth journey from known to unknown. It is always good. It is always comfortable rather to remain in the known territory and not to travel in terra incognito, unknown territory. But all the territories of life are not known every time. Majority of the territories of life are unknown. So this case method of learning is to give opportunity to a student to appreciate that if things are unknown, then how to travel, how to move on that path, where highways will not be found, where the lanes will not be there. You have to create your own way. You have to struggle to cut the thorns and make your own zigzag path so that you are able to wriggle out of the problem. So case method of learning to train a student to wrestle with the problem and understand that how peer learners in growing you bigger. In lecturing, one person giving knowledge to many in the class, but in the case method, the class as a whole goes for creating the knowledge. So if one person is giving the sermons to many, then the sermon would be taken as gospel, last truth, ultimate. That sermon is to be accepted, whether you like it or not like it. Whereas in case method of learning, contradictions are appreciated. In case method of learning, inferences are appreciated. In case method of learning, conjectured meanings are appreciated. In case method of learning, tentative explanations are available. In case method of learning, suppositions are important. In case method of learning, half-baked reality is as important as full reality, as arrived ones. Therefore, case method of learning gives opportunity. How do you go for situating it in your class? That you have to find out on your own. I'm just talking about the contours of case method of learning. If you want to read further, you can refer the work of Christensen. There is another big name, Garvin, and third is Sweet. Christensen has done a lot of work in the area of participant-centered learning. There is a good book The title of book is Education for Judgment. A very engrossing book that will help you understand that what case method of learning is, what participant learning is. There is another book exclusively for commerce and management students to understand case method of learning. That is by William Elliott. That is also a good book, but that caters only to the business world. But this Education for Judgment, this goes for opening up your visualization, your thinking about case method of learning. So in case method of learning, teacher who is not transmitting knowledge is possessing knowledge, but is acting as a fielder on the ground. In the game of cricket, there is one bowler who bowls, who throws the ball. There is another batsman who goes for hitting the ball. And rest are there, rest 10, 11, 10 are there as fielders. Those 10 fielders, what do? They catch the ball and bring it back on the pitch. So teacher is neither batsman nor bowler in the game of case method of learning. It is acting as a fielder that whenever the field goes out of crease, out of pitch, it brings it back to the crease. Does not let the batsman to throw it out of the ground and make discussion out of context. No, it goes for bringing the discussion in the shape, in the structure. And teacher and students among themselves, they become, all of them, they become co-creators of knowledge. Teacher is no more a pedant. Teacher is a learner. Teacher is a debater. Teacher goes for understanding the nuances of learning and helping students to understand the joy and the torment of creation, the pains and pleasures of creation. And interest or disinterest in a subject, if you reflect back, is largely because of a good or a not good teacher. But in this case, because the teacher was not able to come down to your level in your class, therefore I developed hatred or disinterest or neutrality or indifference for that subject. Because I took the teacher as the source, and the source was not coming down to my level, therefore I said that no, I will not go for this subject. But in case method of learning, where the teacher is not the source, therefore etiology of the frustration of the students, that shifts. If a student is not learning, it is because of his student. So responsibility of the learning is shifting from teacher to student. In lecture method, responsibility of the making a student learn lies with his teacher. But in the case method, responsibility of the learning lies with the student, because a student is a creator. A student has to go for understanding that what are the nuances of learning. And only inspiration will not do. Only appreciation of a teacher that, yes, this teacher is very scholarly, very good orator, very voracious reader. No, where are you? And you have to go for making sweat of the brow. You have to go for putting your own efforts, and only simply copying that teacher is a great source and has zapped there in the class. That is the quality of the teacher. Teacher every time would not be there with you. You have to develop your own teacher who has to come from within, from inside. So this case method of learning, which helps the student to bring that teacher from inside, where what we say that aap dvipo bhav, where you go for becoming your own teacher, your own disciple. So every time you are acting as a devil's advocate and you become a conformist. So you go for debating to yourself. This what is opportunity and the training given in case method of learning, where teacher acts as a discussion leader, teacher acts as a facilitator. Teacher only goes for capturing the key points, where teacher helps student to observe and reflect. And teacher tells that the teaching is not a science. Teaching is a craft. And teaching is not to transfer the knowledge. Teaching is to listen the people. Teaching is to listen the experience. Teaching is to try out the practices and understand that out of this experience, what implicit and explicit things could be gained, which could be of some use for today and larger use for tomorrow. Knowledge is not implicit. Knowledge is very explicit. Learning from experiences, learning from intuitions, learning from gut feeling, learning from experimentation. I will give an example, then I will close. Vicks VapoRub. This is a household name. Whenever there is a nasal problem, we use Vicks VapoRub. Gurucharan Das, you might have heard the name, now known as big author. He was the global CEO of Procter & Gamble. Vicks belongs to P&G. In the early days of his career, Gurucharan Das was traveling in some rural areas of southern India. And there a lady shared her experience of Vicks VapoRub. And she said that whenever I used to have breathing or nasal issues, I used to put that Vicks VapoRub in hot water and take this steam. And that helps me a lot in clearing my nasal congestion. Pure experience, no science. But Gurucharan Das was very impressed with this. He experimented on his own and found that yes, prior to that, P&G was never promoting, never marketing this idea that this could be one of the extension of the uses of the Vicks VapoRub. So he shared with his board, he shared with his boss. Now, problem came that the Vicks was taken as a drug which was under some schedule, which was to be sold only through the medicine shops. They went for tweaking it on the basis of one experience shared by a lady. They went for tweaking it with some ingredients of Vicks VapoRub, and with that tweaking, that Vicks VapoRub was delisted from that list, and now it was made available to the public through all shops, not only through medicine shops. So no license was required for selling Vicks VapoRub. And that year, the P&G's, Procter & Gamble's sales rose. Reason was an experience of a person was captured. It was not science. It was purely practice. Therefore, this appreciation for experiences, appreciation for mistakes, appreciation for imitations, appreciation for confusions, giving opportunity for getting rid of confusions, deliberating, debating the confusions, understanding to live with paradoxes. These are the opportunities given in the case method of learning, where the student goes for understanding the realities of life better and situates the theory better in life and becomes a better human being. This how you can think of using the case method in your teaching, and try that how it goes for giving you a more control there in the class as compared to what control you enjoy being there in the class as a pedant, as the source of knowledge, as someone who only commands respect out of a scholarship and good delivery. Scholarship and good delivery is very important for a teacher, but at the same time, the teacher should go for giving opportunity to a student to blossom, to grow. That's all from my side. Thank you so much. Over to organizers. Rajiv.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello.
हाँ आशीष बोलो आशीष sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, there is no question from participant side. They are just doing the comments only. That's very informative session, very effective explanation, like things, exact number of nice presentation, really knowledgeable information, valuable and stochastic sessions with information. Such kinds of comments we heard. Yes.
Ashish,
Huh?
one participant is asking question. Vilas Deoford.
Yeah, sure. You can ask.
He's asking how can we bring it to case method stepwise.
Sorry. Come again. How can you bring?
How can we bring it to case method stepwise? The full question is the basic education in India is lecture method based up to class 12th. How can we bring it to case method stepwise?
For that, training of the teacher is required, right? The case method, it gives very, it creates very, apparently it appears that it gives very unorganized, it creates very unorganized environment. But behind that unorganized environment, there is a very organized mind of the teacher. So first, the teacher has to go for understanding that what is the role of the teacher. Teacher has to pick a theory, and along with that has to go for picking a case. So selection of the case becomes very important in case method of learning. That case, how good you are in terms of understanding of the contextualization of that case. Suppose you take some case from European context or American context. In India, maybe we will not be the students will be able to appreciate it more. So therefore, there is a need to select the case and then understand that what learning call outs would be there out of that case. What students would be able to learn if you are making that the case to be discussed there in the class. If you are not clear that what this case is all about, what kind of skills, what kind of the knowledge, what kind of attitude, what kind of the ability this case is going to cultivate in the student, then you will not be able to assess whether the case method is going on the right direction or not. So selection of the case is the first step we should be clear about. The second step is that there are different types of cases. So you have to identify that what is the category of the case. Large categories are the cases are problem-centered cases. Larger categories are the cases are decision-centric cases. Larger categories are the cases are evaluation-centric cases. Larger categories are the cases are rule-centric cases. That what is the category and typology of the case? Then you go for reading the case on your own. And very interestingly, that when you read a theory, you are very cautious, very alert, very agile, very attentive in reading a theory, taking the notes, organizing the notes, and understanding what this theory is all about. But about reading the case, it is purely an art. Interestingly, there is no need to be alert in reading the case. Rather, there is a need to be agile. There is a need to be smart in reading the case. Because in the art of reading the case, in case every information is not important. I don't know how many of you are appreciating this, that in case every information is not important. In any situation, every information is not important. For example, this platform, sitting in my home, I'm interacting with you. I'm there with you on this issue of case method of learning. As I'm sitting in my home, there must be some cooking going on. There must be some reading material available here. There must be some television program going on. For this interaction of mine with you, what is being prepared in my house, or how my sofa is arranged, or how what program is going on in the television, is that important? Answer is no. As in life, there are many redundant things. All those things are there with us. But for one particular decision making, those things are not important. If I have to go to have my lunch, yes, what has been prepared today, that is important. For this interaction, it is not important. Therefore, I'll develop art of reading the case. That what is important and what is not important, what is redundant. The data which is important and the data which is not important, unimportant, less important, not vital. The students of accounting, they know that there is a concept of materiality in accounting, that only the material part is disclosed in the accounting. So you have purchased something of 10 rupees, then you have sold it something for 12 rupees, something for, it is not important. This transaction of 9 rupees, it is not to be, you record it, but talking about this is not important. What is important? That the total purchase is this and total sales is this. If you will go for revealing every small or big information, then there will be overload. It means the reading the case also talks about that you develop the habit of a smart reader, that what is important, and for that it is good that you read the beginning of the case and you read end of the case first, so that you are able to understand that what this case is actually all about. And end tells you that where it is leading to. And then thereafter you go for reading. Thereafter you go for making the assessment of the situation. Thereafter you go for developing your own viewpoint. Thereafter you go for framing your own questions. Thereafter you go for developing your own hypothesis. Thereafter you go for collecting the data, the proofs. And thereafter you go for talking about actions, and you go for generating alternatives. We say that case has no life is also no definite answer. You have had your breakfast, you are sitting here, you are filtering till here, and thereafter there is no even a drop of water to go inside. And one of your close friend comes and say that let's have tea or let's have some snacks. You say that I'm failure till here, but he said that I bet my friendship, if we will not have, then tomorrow onwards we are no friends. What will you do? You will have, despite you are filled till here. It means it is not the way. There is always a way. Who bets? What is the deepness of that relationship? The more deeper it is, the better answer. So In case method, an appreciation for not some appreciation for heuristics, capturing the raw materials for making the larger decisions of the life. These trainings you have to go for and understand the science of case method of learning. That becomes very important. If you are not understanding the science of case method of learning, then what will happen? That some discussion would be going on in the class, apparently talking something, communicating, conversing something, but nothing meaningful would be coming out. So case method is to create a democracy of the knowledge there in the class. But handling the democracy as I don't want to give any political statement, handling the democracy as it is happening in our country, you would not be demonstrating a replica of that there in the class. There you should be able to take it to the logical conclusion, and for that you have to understand that how to make the interaction with the student unfolding there in the class. For that, the structure of the case method must be known to you.
क्वेश्चन तो बहुत सारे हैं, एक क्वेश्चन और लेते हैं रितेश सर, चूंकि आपको जाना है तो एक क्वेश्चन, चूंकि 5 मिनट। एक क्वेश्चन है नेहा आचार्य का, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रैक्टिस रिक्वायर्ड टू इंक्रीज स्टूडेंट इंटरेस्ट इन रिसर्च?
जरा एक बार,
what kind of practice required to increase students interest in research?
What kind of the practice required to engage students in research?
Student interest in research.
I repeat, my understanding that her question is that what kind of practice is required to make students to take interest in research?
Yes,
is my question.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good question you have asked, Archana. You see, for that you have to understand that what research is for. If research is only for acquisition of as only an event, I'm sorry to say that education in present times has become management of event of taking admission, event of managing class, event of managing attendance, event of managing exam, and event of managing a degree. But research is, in the true sense of the term, research which talks about creation of knowledge. Research which talks about appreciation of knowledge. Research which talks about that there is a problem, there is a real problem existing, and that real problem is being converted into an academics. So we look at the academic aspect of the real problem. As SARS-CoV-2 problem is going on, this pandemic is going on. This pandemic is the real problem. This coronavirus is a real problem, but we are looking at the scientists in their labs. They are looking at the academics of this, that what are the characteristics of this SARS-CoV-2, how it is different from SARS-CoV-1, what could be done to create the antidote of that. So if you want to cultivate the research interest in students, you have to make them understand that always identify the problems which are spread all around you. And after identification of that problem, you try to bring an academic model of that, collect data, and find out a solution. I will give a very practical example of mine. Earlier in Delhi University, in third year of graduation, there used to be a paper that was called as research-based, project-based paper. All through the year, the student used to do a project. So that year, to group of students, I gave a project, very simple project, that between the two red lights of Delhi University roads, it used to be huge traffic jam because of Commonwealth Games. So I gave them a project that between the two red lights, at an interval of the half kilometer. What is the duration of the traffic jam a day? On an average, how many vehicles are being stuck up in the traffic jam? And what is the loss of the fuel when these many on an average vehicles are being caught up there in that traffic jam? A group of students did this. They were very happy because it was the first time they were working on a live project. They collected the data, they submitted the report. We sent it to Delhi government also, the report of that. At that time, Sheila Dixit was the chief minister of Delhi. Appreciation came from there that it is a good project and we will take into this for policy making. I don't know what did they do, I don't know. But the team leader of that project that year got selected in a multinational company, Rio Tinto. She was working at Singapore. After a couple of years, 2 years of her stay in Singapore, that Rio Tinto International Company got an opportunity to look after the traffic management of Melbourne City of Australia. And that girl, who had done a very small research project of managing the traffic, understanding that what is the traffic jam situation and what is the loss of fuel, she was made she was made the project head of the traffic management of Melbourne, just because she has done a small project. Thereafter, the life got changed and she developed interest in working in transportation, finding out the solution to the transportation problems. And currently she is pursuing her research in the University of Reading, working on how to find out the solution to the traffic chaos. So this is how you can think in terms of creating a small engagement for students to appreciate the problems there in and around their life and find out the solution. Yes, Alok ji.
सर क्वेश्चंस तो बहुत सारे हैं, लेकिन आशीष
हाँ जी,
हम सर को मेल कर देंगे क्वेश्चन और सर से बात कर लेंगे, क्योंकि सर का पहले से एंगेजमेंट है, तो आप थैंक यू करें.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on very important topic on teaching methodology. I hope participants learned how to build up the good relationship with the students. So, sir, thank you so much once again for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you everyone. Thanks so much.
साहिल लाइव बंद करो पहले, एक मिनट सर. साहिल लाइव बंद करो. क्वेश्चन सर हमारे पास बहुत सारे आए हुए थे, तो उसको हम बाद में आपको भेज देंगे सर. तो हाँ, क्वेश्चंस बहुत सारे आए हुए थे. अच्छा रितेश भैया, इसी का हिंदी मंडे ट्यूसडे वेडनेसडे में कभी एक दिन, क्योंकि हिंदी वाले हमारे टीचर्स
बताता हूँ आप वालों को.
हाँ, हिंदी वाले टीचर हमारे वो हो जाएंगे, वो मतलब सुन नहीं पाएंगे आपके इतने अच्छे लेक्चर्स को. बहुत अच्छे कमेंट आए हुए हैं और मतलब वो वंचित न रह जाएं, इसलिए निवेदन है भैया कि मंडे ट्यूसडे वेडनेसडे में जब भी आपके पास समय हो, 12 बजे, 1 बजे, 2 बजे, 3 बजे हम उसको कर सकते हैं. ठीक है भैया, ठीक है भैया, प्रणाम भैया, प्रणाम. ओके,
थैंक्स सो मच.
Thank you, sir. नमस्कार.
थैंक यू सर.
साहिल बंद कर दो, लाइव बंद कर दो. हाँ, लाइव
तो बंद करो यार.